Uh, it's a Wednesday. Ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs, welcome to the Beacon TVL show, the weekly podcast from Beacon DeFi, your beacon in the world of decentralized finance. I'm your host, Professor Chris, and we've got a great show lined up for you as we tackle the news of the week that's relevant to you, our dear users in the world of on-chain investing. Today, we've got world-renowned DJ from Talisman, Robert Williams. How are you, sir? Welcome back.
Good, always good to be here.
Yes, sir.
How are you? GM.
GM. Let me make sure that our streams are all going. I believe that they are. I want to say thanks to everybody who is watching us live. Also, welcome to everybody who's listening to us on our podcast. We now have the Beacon TVL podcast available on every single outlet you can think of. iHeartRadio. Why did I leave with iHeartRadio? Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, TuneIn. I just found out TuneIn is a thing. All kinds of places. So wherever you get your podcast, you should be able to find the Beacon TVL show. Just look us up under Beacon or TVL. Total Value Locked, I believe, is the name. That's the full name of the full podcast, and you'll be able to find it there. So, all right, let's start with our little open here. I realized, Robert, that I have a problem with tabs.
Oh, so do I.
I mean, I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. So and it's hard for you to really see, and I'm kind of just trying to see if anybody can maybe guess how many tabs.
I feel like one of those guess how many beans are in the jar kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah. So not this up here, this down here. I took a screenshot earlier because I can't. It's not as easy to do, multiple tabs as quickly as possible.
There's like 660 tabs there at least, probably.
Man, you're good at these games, brother. This is 64 tabs.
Yeah, I was gonna say 65 actually.
And I'm just like, really? Because I sat there and I'm like, 65, 64. I sat there, I'm looking at, I'm like, that doesn't look like that many. But it's like, one thing you can do is like, if you're going to you can check out history, and then it'll tell you, how many tabs you have open. So, I guess this is like 25 or something like that. So crazy that that's 64. I know I have a problem, but if you guys know how I roll, I do a lot of research. I mean, I spend 50 hours a week doing research for you guys. So I always have a lot of things open. I have a lot of things that I have to put together. So I just wish there's a better way to. What I need is an AI assistant that actually helps with that. So do you have any tips for me on how I could do a better job of organizing my tabs, or at least making it so if I need to find something, I don't have to leave tabs open?
I have the same problem because everything just branches like a tree into everything else. So one tab leads to another, to another, to another. But
exactly.
Yeah, what I do sometimes it helps a little bit, but is that sometimes I'll just bookmark all of them as like a session, and then just deliberately go through all of them, like read all the information or prioritize it, and then kind of consume it, and then that's it. Or what I'll do is I'll make sure that I open up at least 2 or 3 separate windows that are more focused on a certain area. But you might need to have 10 windows open if you do that.
Yeah, I know there's a couple of extensions you can get. I know I've tried vertical tabs, which actually takes them and places them here on the side. Not also still part of a problem, I will say. Although it does annoy me more, so that's a good thing because it allows me to sit here and just look and go, all right, I should just close all the tabs to the right, or just close tabs. I know that there's there's a couple of different extensions that will actually shrink everything into these little islands. And as you click it, it opens back up. Either way, it's not good for my memory. I have 32 gigs of RAM on this M1 this M1 Max, and I need to get that fixed. So I'm a huge fan of Inbox Zero. So the fact that I have this many tabs open is atrocious. So it's a problem. But if I find something cool, I'll share it with the group.
It's a sign that you're doing good research.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Also, I felt very seen because I got this in my email, from Nebraska Medicine saying, "What is time blindness and how can you manage it?" Uh, Time blindness is a term used to describe the difficulties of time management often associated with ADHD. But it's all a matter of just trying to stay on task. I have a very big problem with not that I have a problem with staying on task, it's just I have so many things going on, like my tab situation, that I'll just be like, and then suddenly, like 30 minutes later, I'm like, I was supposed to be doing something. I need an intervention. So anyway, I saw this literally last week, but right before you came on, I looked at it was in my email. I'm like, I feel very seen right now.
Yeah.
Because
do you feel seen or attacked?
I can't say that it's an attack because I'm aware.
Yeah.
I'm aware, even as a culture, and hello to all my Filipino listeners and viewers out there. It's a cultural thing for us to be late for everything. So I try not to use that as a crutch, but am I often that much in a hurry? No. So maybe that's the problem. But I like to be productive. And there are things I can do to be productive. But anyway, let's move on. Let's move on to the markets before we head to the next thing I wanted to talk about with you. And it's been a wild, the last 7 days, which you can see down here, have just been nutty. We've just seen a lot of just chaos, right? Tariffs are being lobbied into the world, US going one way, everybody else coming back the other way, markets tanking. Frankly, in a surprise move, raising tariffs, but then removing pausing the world for 90 days and removing tariffs on consumer electronics. I was like, what are we doing here? When you decide to remove the tariffs isn't that the whole thing?
It's a mess.
That's a huge mess, right? But at the same time, if you rewatch the inauguration video, like very front and center, right around the president, you had Jeff Bezos, Tim Cook from Apple, you had Sundar Pichai from Google, you had I know his name, the gentleman from Microsoft, Satya Nadella, and you had a variety of people there. I mean, all tech people, right? Obviously, VP Elon Musk was also there, but it's kind of crazy just how much the market has really just kind of gone a little bit nutty, right? Then you have the 10-year bond trade starting to unwind. People are selling, not people, but countries are selling off treasury bonds, the short-term bonds as a response. And Dixie is falling, the dollar index, euro is rising. I mean, it's just all sorts of crazy right now. A lot of volatility. This is interesting because oddly enough, crypto's been fairly responsive. It's been okay. The S&P 500 had like the worst and the best trading day ever, or at least in years, in the last 7 days. So I mean, I'm buckled in for the ride. How do you feel about it, Robert?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get a clear idea of what Trump's actual end game is, but it seems like it's just to get onto some different terms with China mainly, right? So, and just in general, so it's just about riding out that storm, right? Riding out this storm of market manipulation and confusion. And once the storm clears, which, I mean, what was it, 90 days? So we're like 2 weeks into that. So we should have some clarity within the next couple of months, I would imagine.
I agree. Also, hats off to everyone who is a quote unquote gold bug, and those with exposure to gold. Gold is flying right now at all-time highs. Does a fantastic store of value. So congratulations to those. Also, I think we talked about it last week. We also talked about gold-backed coins like Paxos Gold, Tether's XAUT, stuff like that. Possibly some decent trades out there. What I will say is that our communities have been doing, well, they should have been doing, at least everybody I know has been doing the sensible thing, which is accumulating coins in a good buy zone, DCAing into majors, and really just farming. Stablecoins have been a fantastic farm, and high volume altcoins have been a fantastic farm for the last 20, 30 days. I see a lot of people being reactive, taking leverage, and getting liquidated. We're just continuing to farm. Frankly, I just feel like we just keep on winning. And I know that's a very overused term right now. If you look out on crypto Twitter, it's like everyone's tired of winning. But we're just continuing to win. And I just love that. I just love that we can rely on that. So, it's a lot of what we do is hands off, and it's just grinding out yield. So congrats to everybody on that who's doing that. And if you're taking leverage and trying to play the volatility, man, you're riding a rough road, that's for sure. But looking at some interesting things, looking at a lot of interesting action. Let's look at bubbles real quick. Oh my. Sad move too. I personally, we'd never really talked about Ohm. It was a leading RWA. That's the mantra protocol. I don't think anyone in our group is also in Ohm either. So, but we're seeing some interesting movement. I was very curious about XCN, which is Onyx, why it's up so much. On the day, it looks like there's a lot of people taking profit, but core, BTCL2. Look at that. More movement for Pi in the wrong direction. Anyway, so I did look at Onyx because I was like, well, what is XCN? And apparently it is a decentralized platform. It's a blockchain rollup that puts everything in one spot. It's built on Arbitrum, secured by Base. Still trying to figure out how that works.
That's a bit of an awkward fit, right? Because
not really. I mean, ultimately, what's great about Arbitrum is that they have multi-VM, so you can actually do smart contracts in multiple languages. And it just could be a layer 3 that then gets secured by Base. That is Base. It is Base.
I think so, yeah. I thought Base was an optimistic rollup from Optimism.
It is. That's why I'm like,
yeah.
Huh. But there are chains built on top of Base, like DGen chain from Farcaster is built on top of Base as a layer 3. So yeah, so that's up. I think they're up to almost a penny now. So congrats to anybody who may have gotten that target as something to get in. But this just tells me, especially with the way bubbles are looking, is that DeFi is building. That's the one thing I wanted to stress. A lot of new chains are coming online. We got Mega ETH. We have Monad and Testnet. Both of them are in Testnet. We've got a bunch of other chains coming. Fogo, for example.
Mega ETH.
We just talked about Mega ETH. Yeah, more novel protocols and what we love to call composable money Legos to play with, to stack on top of each other. So I'm excited. This day chart is weird, but the week chart looks really interesting. I think with all of the volatility, we're going to see some interesting moves here. Let's see. We're in a world order shifts this season. Of course, it's chaotic. Just sit back and watch it. It's fun.
Yeah.
The number of people, actually, Robert, that I've talked to that aren't making a ton of moves, but just accumulating and holding is pretty staggering, I will say. I know you've been doing a little bit of accumulation yourself.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Anything in particular that is one that you think people should be considering looking at?
I mentioned it at least once or twice before, but I think Centrifuge is really undervalued. CFG.
CFG, yep.
But you mean on the bubbles here, or no? Or just,
no, whichever.
Yeah, because I think the price is suppressed a bit because they're still technically on Polkadot.
Right.
They're still like technically is a parachain. But they've always had one foot in Ethereum, anyways, with their pools, their RWA pools. But yeah, they just passed the governance for for V3, which is going to make them multi-chain,
Nice.
EVM multi-chain. And so, yeah, I think there's no clear reason why they shouldn't quickly catch up to projects like Ondo. And if they do, that's quite a gap. I mean, it's like a 30x gap, something like that. So I think that's a good play. That's one of my plays right now. I've been accumulating.
They have an interest. Their logo looks like Ondo's. I thought that was Centrifuge right there.
Centrifuge started in 2017, technically.
Yeah,
so I think Ondo.
They're an older protocol.
Yeah, I mean, they really got going in 2020. I think Ondo might have bitten their style a little bit too, actually, because I think Ondo came later.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're like what, around 67 million market cap.
Yeah, around there.
You know,
FTV about 73. So
yeah, I got to look at tokenomics too and all that kind of stuff and emissions. But Ondo is like 2.4 billion still, I think, right?
Yeah, they've got some room to. They have some ground to make up for sure.
Yeah, so I think they're just as legit as any other RWA project. I mean, they were really like the first mover. So
love it.
Yeah.
So there you go, Robert's pick, Centrifuge.
That's right.
Well, I wanted to, before we get into some more interesting things, I wanted to pour one out specifically for me because I missed the purchase of this product. I want to admit that I'm in that target demographic. I buy things off of social media, guys. Anything that like if I'm scrolling in bed, if I'm scrolling while cooking, I mean, I'll see something and I have a little bit of a targeted shopping problem on my socials. Not proud of it, but it is what it is. I missed buying this product, which is something that I saw in Denver and totally forgot about. And I know this is like, you're like, well, what is it? Oddly enough, it's a phone, but it runs Ethereum OS. I missed the pre-order by like 3 weeks, but the one reason why I like DeFi products or DeFi focused products is that they come with airdrops, right? When it comes to products we've talked about on the show, pardon me, like the Solana Seeker, the version 2 of their mobile phone, which if you guys remember, like a year ago, when Andrew was on and he bought it live on the show. I'm so sorry. I thought I clicked mute. Air here is bad. Thanks, Controlled Burns from Kansas. But airdrops, reason why we buy these. Another one. Play Solana, PSG1. Bought this, airdrops. Jumbo phone, $99. Towards like EMEA, Asia. Going to be running, well, they kind of have a partnership with Solana. More airdrops. So we play OX1. Didn't buy this one. Mainly because I don't know, I already have something that kind of looks like it. So yeah, but probably actually I don't think there's a big airdrop on this because they're trying to bring, actually there is an airdrop, but they're not going to allow you to play anything but games based on SUI because they really want to try to push a GameFi narrative, which I think is probably the wrong way to go about it because the tech is really cool. Anyway, you bought any of these? Does this tickle the itch for you?
I haven't bought any yet, but I'm intrigued though. I mean, I'm curious if the airdrop, like let's say you spend a few $100s on one of these, if the airdrop ends up paying for it, or
it does, and that's the main reason why, right? Because I think the Solana Saga, which was the first phone from Solana, you can go on eBay right now. There are people that haven't opened it, that quote unquote haven't claimed it. I think they probably did, but are selling the phone for like $3,000 to $5,000 because originally when the phone came out, it flopped, but then they dropped it to $550 and gave, I think, 6 or 7 airdrops led by Bonk, $500 in Bonk at the time, and that was before Bonk's listing on Coinbase sent it super high. So because of that, these are pure ROI investments.
Well, sign me up now.
Then. I mean, I pre-ordered my Seeker, I don't know, 6 months ago now. But there's some people like Andrew who bought it a year ago live. If anything, these are great hardware wallets because they're supposed to have biometrics and stuff built in. Not sure if I can say that for the Jumbo phone, being very, transparent about that. But I'm hoping if anyone from Jumbo wants to come on the show and talk about it, happy to talk more to learn more about the product. But this does have what's called Ethereum OS. Actually, get airdrops. $31 a holder. Eh. It runs an Ethereum Light node. Man, why didn't I buy this? That would be so cool to have an actual Ethereum Light node where you get, and to be fair, validator staking nodes on Ethereum, pretty much on par with 10-year US Treasury bonds right now. Pretty much. It's roughly about the same, between 2 to 4%, where you'd want them to be. But still, I think that'd be so cool. That'd be such a flex for me to sit there and say that that I have an Ethereum node working in my pocket.
It looks kind of cool. I like the.
It's different, right?
Yeah, kind of funky old school design.
Yeah, it's blockchain powered. All right, if anybody wants to sell me theirs, let me know. Let me know if you got in early. Anyway, we should probably move on to more serious topics. If you like what you're hearing for so far, please give us a like, follow, subscribe. Thanks again for joining us. Of course, let's talk about our free group here, Total Value Locked, the namesake of the show. This is where you can learn more about how to get into these opportunities, whether it be for staking, for liquidity provision, airdrops, concentrated liquidity, things we're going to talk about in just a little bit, how to find the best stablecoin farms and pools. We have all of that here available at our Total Value Locked website. Again, it's absolutely free to join. Let me put the banner up here, school.com/beacon. Learn from the best and the best. And I want to point out this start here thing. I have a little bit of alpha for you guys. We're coming out with something new. I can't really talk about it. It's going to come out in the next day or two. Let's just say it's been a challenge to put together. So I'm excited to bring that to you guys. But check out this start here post. Check out our Introduction to DeFi course. This is, of course, free for you guys and really just a great way to get your fundamentals in. And then if you want to go there faster or be amongst a great community, we have other options for that as well, like our Beacon Masterminds. And thank you to everyone on our founding members of Beacon Mastermind, as well as our Beacon Accelerator and Beacon Spotlight members for helping make all of this possible. All right, let's move on. Let me take away this banner. So, fun twist. This was put out yesterday from Matthew Siegel at Van Eck, a very large asset manager related to Agora. Jan Van Eck's son, Nick Van Eck, put together Agora Dollar, which is AUSD, the official stablecoin, I believe, of the Polygon CDK and the Avail Ag layer. So, a proposal to help the U.S. refinance $14 trillion in debt for the next 3 years. A new digital asset product called a bit bond. A bit bond is made up of 90% T-bill. It is made up of, and 10% of that is tied to Bitcoin, purchased with the proceeds of the sale. I guess they're $100 a bond. Okay, something to look at. The investor receives all BTC gains up to a maximum annualized YTM, or yield to maturity rate, of 4.5% on the purchased value of the bond. In the event that the gains within that time exceed 4.5%, their yields are going to be split between the US government and the investor themselves. I'll be very honest. This is actually very compelling. I mean, pack that in with the Doge pink slips and the funding cutoffs everywhere, and is this a recipe for success? Robert, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting structure for the bond there, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I'm a lot more degen, so I'm aiming for higher yields usually. But I mean, for the average investor, this is pretty solid.
I think for most people who have an aversion to risk, or they just don't want, or they have a very diversified portfolio, for example, and they're just looking for something that's going to give them something better or something more stable, I guess is the better word, because the basis trade is kind of going nuts right now, and the bond yield is super high. I think this is fairly compelling. I think for the only thing I'm very curious about, and I don't know anything about it because they literally just came out yesterday, and he's kind of doing the runs right now talking about it, is, is this going to be available to the everyday investor? Is this only open to accredited investors, or can anybody on the bond market buy it? If that's the case, is it also going to be open to anyone in the world? Because there are a lot of people that own U.S. Treasuries, not only just countries, but actual companies. Like Tether is like the 20th largest holder of T-bills in the world. So this is a new spin on financing U.S. debt. So I'll be very curious to see if this gains traction. Let me know in the comments if this is something that you guys would actually buy, because I do think that this is something that could be very useful to a lot of traditional investors that don't even want the ETF, but they like the idea of investing in T-bills. So
it's cool. Yeah,
it's cool. I think it's very out of the box thinking is really what I'm getting at, because let's be honest, this is a very obvious. Well, is it an obvious Venn diagram? I mean, I think most people would meet at this intersection and think this is compelling, but let me know. I think it's interesting. I'd like to see what other countries think of this, because there are multiple countries actually selling bonds right now. So we'll see exactly how this rolls. But I think from the U.S. side, as Susan has pointed out here, this is a win for the investor as well as the government. So I do like the idea of the product. What's interesting now is that now that they put this out, you're going to see some others come out. So yeah, maybe this was the plan all along. Who knows?
I mean, if the U.S. government actually does buy 1 million Bitcoin, then
Yeah.
isn't holding U.S. Treasuries kind of like getting some exposure to Bitcoin also?
Well, in this case, it would be, I suppose. Yeah, I guess. I mean, the idea is to have the strategic. We'll have to know more once that market structure bill passes. Like right now, the Stablecoin Act is on the floor. So once the Market Structure Act goes, we'll see exactly where this leads. But other big news from last week, it actually happened after TVL last week. We have our first ever piece of crypto legislation passed, Robert. This is HJ Resolution 25. Is co-authored by Rep. Mike Carey from Ohio and Senator Ted Cruz from Texas. Essentially, it just nullifies the DeFi broker rule, which was put about by the Biden administration, which means that dApps, or decentralized exchanges, or just dApps, which are decentralized apps, no longer have to act like a securities broker, a licensed security broker, and they don't have to report information to the IRS like one. So big win for DeFi, big win for really just the everyday investor in DeFi. But I mean, gosh, it's hard for me to believe that we're in 2025 and this is the first time we've ever seen a crypto piece of legislation go through. That was the first thing that surprised me. Because, but then I think about it, and Trump wasn't president. I mean, Trump wasn't president when DeFi started to take off, right? He ended in the end of 2019. So, kind of interesting. That's how much time has flown, I guess, is the better way to think about it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, yeah, but yeah, cool that this is the first piece of crypto legislation. Big win for DeFi, and that leads just for more part of the Trump position on crypto, right? He wants flexible oversight. He wants a lot of competition. He wants businesses to be able to conduct really everything inside the U.S. borders, which is what he's been pushing for, since day one. He's very transparent about that, right? One thing that's been really happening is state strategic Bitcoin reserves. One thing I wanted to bring up, since there's just more flexible oversight, there's been more states coming through. Oklahoma has narrowly killed it, unfortunately. So that leaves New Hampshire, Texas, and Arizona with the ones who are leading the push. They actually just narrowly lost it. It was actually supposed to be worse, but one of the actual senators in the Oklahoma state legislature was swayed by voters, by her constituents themselves, through some phone calls to change her vote. So I think that's pretty interesting. I mean, yet that means that you do have a voice and stuff like this. So I know it's kind of, people are like, call your senator and stuff like that. Well, in this case, it actually helped. They didn't actually get the job done, unfortunately, ultimately, but it just shows that pick up the phone and call somebody, educate people like we like to do, and you might actually make a difference. With that said, bitcoinlaws.io, really good site to check out to know more about where we are on the digital asset policy with regards to either just measures, strategic Bitcoin reserves, things like that. More companies are starting to consider them as well, just like GameStop just did recently. So, any thoughts on SBRs, Robert?
Yeah, no, I think it's good to see, and it makes a lot of sense that states would also be forming their own reserves. I mean, the U.S. When Trump announced it, and Loomis started, was really pushing it, and everybody else. You have to, to keep up. I mean, if you're not doing it, you're gonna get left behind. And so when I see Oklahoma, narrowly defeating it, I just think of the DJ Khaled meme, like, don't ever play yourself.
Well, I didn't think I was ever going to get a DJ Khaled reference on this show, but
yeah.
Another one,
yeah. and to the other states, you a genius.
There we go.
Yeah.
Interesting that you can actually check the actual status. So really, respect to Bitcoin laws for keeping all of this updated. I know that the investment of public funds in Bitcoin is one that's been going on for a while. There are multiple, pension funds that are putting Bitcoin as some of the looks like Hawaii and Alaska are not on the train. Interesting.
But
so we'll see where this all goes.
Almost every state is putting through something, right? So.
Exactly. So a lot of mainstream attention for Bitcoin. People seeing that it's going well. I think I read in an article somewhere that the reason why Oklahoma was not bullish is that they haven't had a stable 4-year period of yield. And I guess I understand that idea. I apologize. But I wonder if, looking at 4-year yield possibilities is even a good way to even measure this,
Loomis says that and the administration says that they're looking at 20 years, right? So.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like it failed in Wyoming. Didn't realize that. You can do a lot of things in Wyoming now with regards to crypto and DeFi. You can be a DAO and have full business standing in Wyoming now. So, yeah, interesting. So moving on from that, one thing we also talked about last week, was breaking news last week, was the SEC and the DOJ dropping their enforcement. Looking at this article from the Defiant, the SEC has dropped 10 crypto cases in the last 3 months in Q1 alone. Hard to believe it's almost May already, man. Where's the year going?
Crazy.
But yeah, so Congress has confirmed Paul Atkins as the new SEC chair. We're going to see more of this, I think, because the SEC and the DOJ, they're ending regulation by prosecution. Was what we talked about last week. But just looking at some of the ones that have recently, had their cases dropped, you had Kraken, Coinbase, Consensus, Uniswap, Gemini, OpenSea, and Robinhood. That's a very large sector of what we look at here in this space. I don't know if Uniswap's case has been dropped, but it looks like Crypto.com's has been dropped. A couple of projects like Immutable X, CryptoKongs, and a couple other collections. Ripple, of course, the biggest.
Uniswap was one of the biggest targets of the broker bill, so
for sure,
it's a double for positive for them.
Yeah, so we're seeing more of this relaxation, and yeah, that's interesting. This is a question from Susan from a little bit ago. Does this get away from the tracking crypto by wallet and exchange? I think that it's still law that CEXs still have to report what you bring in and out. I think they're required to file a 1099 on behalf to the IRS on behalf of that. But the way the administration is going, are we even going to have an IRS in the next 3 months? I don't know. Yesterday was tax day, by the way, if you're in the United States. And if you didn't file an extension, hopefully you were able to file one, or at least file your taxes. And hopefully you have a good outcome from that. I am very curious to see where exactly we're going with everything that's going on. So I also wanted to, let's see, what's the next one? Not quite yet. Where's the one that I'm looking for? Yes. I wanted to congratulate Canada. I know that Canada doesn't really love the United States right now, where we live. At least I live. But they actually have come out with their first Solana ETF. I think they're the first to market with an ETF actually in a country. And with staking. And there's 4 groups all coming together on the Toronto Exchange for a Solana ETF. That started today. Does that mean that we have a move on Sol? Well, it certainly looks like there is a little bit of a move on Sol this week. But for anybody who is in the country of Canada and you're looking for a way to get exposure to Solana without going onto the people's blockchain yourself, congratulations, you now have an option on the Toronto Stock Exchange with a Solana ETF. No idea where that goes from here, but I'm excited to see it. Any thoughts, Robert?
Yeah, that's just saying. I think there's a lot of all these altcoin ETFs are pretty much just around the corner. I think. I mean,
yeah.
I think unlike the Ethereum ETF, for example, which was under the previous administration, which they kind of dragged their feet on, obviously. I think all these altcoin ETFs like Litecoin, Solana, Polkadot, Ripple in the US, they're going to face little to no resistance, I think.
Yeah, completely agree. In fact, I think based on what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, in my network, it could be that XRP is the next ETF target to get approved, which of course would make a lot of people in my chat jump up and down for joy. But we'll see. We're actually coming up very soon to Apex, which is their new annual. It's going to be their I guess their showcase for what's happening with XRP Ledger moving forward. So I'm excited to hear more of that. That's in early June, and we will see what happens from there. What I did want to talk about with you, Robert, is that stablecoins are in the news again.
Yeah,
proving why, especially in this market, they're still the killer app of crypto. This is something that I hope that anyone who's watching this or people who are watching really take to heart, because we really do believe that stablecoins are the killer app of crypto. It's just going to open up mass adoption to make it easier to purchase crypto, take profits, swap them into stablecoins, and then use them, or literally use stablecoins as a really good way in self-custody to gain great yield. We're seeing multiple farms in excess of 15 to 25% on stablecoins, and this volatility is helping that. in the market because we have a lot of flight to safety. You can definitely profit off of the behavior of other investors using concentrated liquidity. So definitely, check out our content for that. But one specific article that a couple of them that have caught my eye. We'll start off with Bleep. Interesting name. Founders formerly from Revolut, a really popular international bank that has a lot of on-chain and online on-ramps. They're partnering with MasterCard to take stablecoins mainstream. This isn't the first partnership for MasterCard, by the way. They're partnering with MetaMask, with Consensus, for the MetaMask card with it's Life, I think Global. I forgot the name of the group, but I remember you mentioned that I think 2 weeks ago or so. Linea's card, that's the same thing. Banks, Cipher. There's quite a few other MasterCard MasterCard controlled cards that are out there. And for anybody who's curious about what this means, is that you can have your self-custodied assets on a blockchain and then use this card to spend against it. Generally, you would have it in USDC or maybe some other stable coin, and they use settlement infrastructure that they've been building for years, guys, at least 4 to 5 years. Visa and MasterCard have been building on chain. If you didn't know that, now you know. It's really interesting to have multiple ways to pay now that we're in a world with digital wallets and stuff like that. Taking your phone everywhere and tapping it to pay. You can set up your card to do exactly this. I know this is something we both do with our Coinbase cards, Robert, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just really convenient. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh yeah, last time we talked about Coinbase and how, because they're a CEX, they can sometimes block the card and that can cause issues. But and we're talking about MetaMask card too, and how we both have it. And so last weekend, I went out for dinner, and it just like clockwork, it happened. The Coinbase card got blocked, but the MetaMask card bailed me out.
Really?
Yeah.
Telling you guys.
Yeah. But this is a growing trend, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. Other big news too from over the weekend. This is still a rumor, I guess is the way to say it. Oh, Cynthia Loomis in the corner. Visa is joining the U.S. Not the U.S. the Global Dollar Network from Paxos. I believe this is part of something we talked about, I think around just after permissionless. So this has been last October when we talked about it. And I think you were on that specific episode, Robert. This was part of some alpha that I got about Project Guardian out of Singapore, where multiple stablecoin issuers were coming together to create a framework to specifically have a network for not only issuing stablecoins, but managing yield. And a lot of this is based on the Tether model, right? Tether made $13 billion in profit last year with stablecoins. So, of course, everybody else wants to copy that now, that especially that the Trump administration has put together all that legislation to make it easy for institutions to do this now. So this USDG network is really good because they're actually taking the profits that Tether has been holding for themselves, and they're gonna redistribute amongst their partners here in the network. So this was interesting back in October because Anchorage Digital is was the only company at the time during the Biden administration who actually had a money license to do stablecoin issuance in all 50 states. Obviously now they're just like everyone else. Everybody else can do it now. But Visa joining here is actually interesting because of the fact that there's a fintech representative from traditional finance now here in the group. Of course, they control a large amount of money, have fantastic payment rails, good settlement, and they're probably going to charge 2%, 3%, and that's all going to go back to all the partners here. So yeah, stablecoins be stablecoining, I guess.
Yeah.
Watch out, Tether, they're coming for you, because that's the one thing that Tether's going to have a problem with, is that there's a lot of countries, or at least, well, let's just say the EU first, that don't want Tether. They are banned from EU because of MiCA, their framework, their Markets and Crypto Assets Act. So they had to. What was that?
Why were they saying that Tether's going to launch another stablecoin?
Yes, we talked about that. I don't know if we actually mentioned it last week or the week before. They're looking at possibly doing a US only stablecoin. That's where we've come in the cycle. When Tether is willing to do a US only stablecoin, and of course they're going to get their wish because Justin Sun went and bought $30 million of World Liberty Financial coin. So he is like a large holder in Trump's DeFi protocol. So of course the scratch your back, scratch my syndrome is going to happen here because he'll most likely get a USDT stablecoin, only stablecoin, and obviously Justin Sun is not the head of Tether. That's Parler Arduino, but he's got a large influence on that. So we'll see. There'll be some glad handing here because Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, his organization Cantor Fitzgerald holds a 5% stake in Tether. So stablecoins be stablecoining. I also wanted to bring up Solaire. Solaire is a DeFi protocol on Solana. They've done an airdrop. We've had people in our mastermind who have gotten in on this, promising a really fast blockchain. Well, the one thing that they also have is a card. They recently just released this. This is the Solaire Emerald card. So if you go and deposit USDC on Solaire, you now have another blockchain source where you can spend your funds using their card. This is what's different about the Emerald card. It's available in 100+ countries, not just non-US, non-UK. You can get rewards on Solaire just by opting into them. And there is no traditional bank account standing in your way because it's all blockchain based. So we haven't talked about this. First of all, Robert, I want to get your thoughts on the idea of this real quick.
Yeah, so how does that work exactly? If there's no bank, right? So how do they settle that onto the traditional card networks?
Let me grab a link because there's a growing they're called neobanks.
Oh yeah. Those are pretty popular in Latin America here.
Yeah, they're gaining steam, right? And we haven't done a show on them, but we'll probably bring Deb Carrizo from last week's panel, since she's got a great handle on Latin America, to come back and talk about that. But is this not happening? Let me see. Well,
well, there's like one of the biggest ones here is Nubank, NU. Yeah, that's one of the.
There we go. I've heard of Nubank.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Oh goodness. There's a couple. I mean, and a lot of them are, like you said, they're going to be in Asia. They're going to be.
So
there you go. WeFi. This is the one I was looking for. The Dio Bank. Not only just a neobank, but a Dio Bank, which is a decentralized neobank. Here we go with the words.
Neo Dio Bank.
Neo Dio Bank. And this is the beauty of technology, right? Because when you can build infrastructure in the background, and they've been building this, guys, just so you guys know, all of this infrastructure shouldn't be new. If you've been following the infrastructure talk, these rails have been out there forever. What WeFi and other Neo and Dio banks are doing is they're building AI agents. I'm a squirrel, sorry. Let's see. Well, they don't show it here, but they've built adapters, right? So they have adapters that actually connect to banks for ledgers and all that type of stuff. So since all of this is digital stuff anyway, right? That's all money is at this point. It's just ones and zeros on the screen, and in a blockchain ledger. So that's really what they're playing on. I will say another idea that's been interesting, and we haven't really talked about it, is what they're doing at Mantle with Mantle Bank. Let me find the link for Mantle's bank, but I actually think this is the most compelling part, specifically for the bank, because you can literally use MNT, and then they've created a whole banking infrastructure around it. And of course, this is the one time that I can't find it because I'm looking. So anyway, sorry for the dead air for anybody who is on the there we go. Let me bring this up. So they have this Mantle banking type of thing. So it's a crypto neo bank that helps users spend, save, and invest their all in one account. That's the only part that you need to know. It's using, instead of using traditional fiat rails, they're using blockchain. They're using really fast networks and infrastructure in the background to take care of all of this all together, and using digital adapters that their programmers have built to do all this together. Now they also have, and you can kind of see this as something interesting, because what they've done also is, where's the MI4 piece? They've created an index here called the Mantle Index 4, which gives them, like, I think, a little bit of a volatility hedge to kind of gain some additional yield, kind of like what Athena's doing, right? But this is kind of where the future is going. In a world where in the Biden administration, a lot of, thanks to Choke Point 2.0, a lot of crypto companies got debanked, they were like, okay, fine, we'll build our own. And as you know, we have a Friday training every Friday called Beat the Banks. They've been building banks on chain for the last 2 years. So we're now seeing the fruits of that. So, and honestly, that's the reason why projects like Stellar, XRP, Ripple, and some others have gained a lot of traction, because you're going to have a population of people that are underserved and unbanked, and they're looking for ways to remit payments anywhere. That's where things like XRP, like Stellar Lumens, and other projects like that, even the old DM project from Facebook, Project Libra, that was supposed to solve more of this happening. We're having blockchains with a much more robust infrastructure build this stuff now, and stablecoins are at the center of it. That's why we say that stablecoins are the killer app of crypto, because, I mean, just seeing something like this, I didn't think this was going to be available for another 2 years. It's here today. So what are banks going to do when most of their customers can just go on chain to set up an account rather than going to their local brick and mortar? What's great about, a lot of the stuff, actually, the Coinbase card, I don't believe you can go to like an ATM network, but one of my other ones that I've seen, you can. So I think it's only a matter of time. I think the writing's definitely on the wall, right? What do you think, Robert?
Yeah, definitely. Well, no, I think if banks, if you're not a bank getting ahead of this trend, then you're gonna just go the way of Blockbuster, honestly.
Yeah, I mean that's the part that's probably the craziest part, right? Is that not only can you just have regular banking facilities, let me temper that expectation by just saying having the ability to have banking like services. But the other part should be the most appealing to most people is the fact that I can use this as an online savings account and then opt in. That's not ready just yet, but to have stable coins with other assets in a very secure environment earning 5 to 10%, being very generous on that 10% is more like 2 to 7, but still That's way better than than a CD. That's way better than a hedge fund. That's way better than any savings account I can think of right now, right? You see that there are like some credit unions that'll give you like 2% or 1.25%. That stuff's in the past now, guys. I mean, this is the future. Neo banking on chain, where you can send your money everywhere and have access to your money anywhere you want, as long as there's an adapter to drop it to where you are in a fiat in a country that accepts the fiat adapter. Sign me up, guys.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that came, one of the first things that came to mind as you were going through it is just, minimal interference.
Exactly. And we talked about this last week, right? I was sending money to pay my car payment from one bank over to my credit union. 3 days for that money to get there. Why? Because of whatever the banking regulations are. This is instant settlement going from one place to another. And that's why banking technology is going to be going by the way of the dodo. This is the future of finance. This is the future of what we do. I mean, it's inevitable. Granted, some of the stuff can, the moment it gets exploited, everyone's going to be like, oh my gosh, this is not the way. The model's been done and it's being copycatted by dozens of people. I can tell you that. There are a lot of people building neobanks and deobanks and stuff like that. And they're getting money. They're getting a lot of money from VCs because they want to see it happen. All right. So actually I took it out of the title. I had it in the title about AWS outages. So there is, to temper expectations, right? AWS, Amazon Web Services, had a huge outage in the APAC region, which is out in Southeast Asia and out in that way. It interrupted a lot of services. You wouldn't think that Rabby Wallet would have an outage thanks to the AWS thing. Binance, KuCoin, MEXC, CoinGecko's API, DYDX, full CEXs were having terrible glitches, even on Base, due to a regional Asia Pacific AWS outage. This is a problem, right? When we're in a situation, wow, I can't expand that. When 36% of the Ethereum network is hosted on AWS, problem, right? We're getting close to that 51% network attack, especially if something were to happen and things get now. I know there's redundancy. I know there's all kinds of backups and stuff, but it's still troubling to see this. This is what decentralization is supposed to fix. Now, we know that no country owns all of this, but there are service providers that own a lot of the infrastructure on this. These are things that you have that need to be fixed. What do you think, Robert?
Yeah, I think they should be. Well, I mean, especially maybe the CEXs will take longer to shift over. But I mean, if you're a decentralized project, you should be using decentralized storage, right? So
yeah, and I'll tell you right now, probably the one thing that's probably the issue is just the cost, because Amazon has such a huge moat around infrastructure. I mean, so much of the world runs on AWS. If you guys didn't know that, Amazon has a huge market lead on everybody else. And they've spent all this time building elastic clouds, creating data centers all around the world to make this a thing. Microsoft is also there. Google is also there, but they're not quite hosting enough nodes to really make a difference, in my opinion. But yeah, this is what happens when you have too much of a market share, too much of a moat, is that you'll need to find ways to do this. Now, there are decentralized Web3 providers, but they're not nearly as cheap as
Filecoin, Arweave.
Filecoin, Arweave, not the cheapest way to store things. I know this because there's a group that's within Arweave that has like a OneDrive kind of product. And for me personally, I was looking for something that would be good as like just a way to store videos, right? So in the event that something happened, and I'll always have a way to own the location where my data would be for like photos, videos, things that I want to have real memories of. And the bill to host that was, let's just say, it was not competitive with anything that's currently out there in the Web 2 industry. So there needs to be some infrastructure built specifically for customer facing infra like that, but we're getting there. It's just going to take a little bit of time. So
yeah, maybe as it scales, it'll become cheaper.
Yeah, and maybe there will be, and looking at groups like a Cache, other types of storage providers like Filecoin, as you mentioned, even down to like, and I'm in the weeds here, like talking about IPFS groups like Pinata or ETH Storage, to see them possibly go out to have nodes that would help people not only just have the infrastructure, but also the ease of onboarding. Even something like Nillion, which focuses technically on privacy and having blind computing, if they had a more consumer-friendly thing that just allowed for more private ownership of local storage because they're not a blockchain, I think that could be a compelling case for them to get more money in their treasury as well. So you can have that one for free, Nillion. Anyway, that's all we really have for the show today. We are at time, so wanted to say thanks again to Robert. Plug away, sir.
Oh yeah, you can catch me on X, Omega__84. And I'm currently at Talisman, so go ahead and check them out, talisman.xyz. And yeah, good to be here again.
Yes, sir. In fact, you can catch Robert and myself next week if you're going to be in Austin for BitTensor Endgame. We'll be there specifically, just to learn more about BitTensor. I have a lot of people to talk to there because I'm a big fan of what BitTensor is building as a decentralized AI nation-state economy, if I want to call them that, because it's just become that. I mean, you have a decentralized AI platform that's now split into 64 different subnets of groups doing different things, building different things, whether it's compute, proprietary trading network with our friends Ken and Luke from Taoshi, AI agents like Subnet 50 from Mode blockchain called Synth. There's all kinds of people building something. Sturdy is subnet number 10. They're an ETH provider, but they're building an EVM sidechain, hopefully, to BitTensor. But yeah, I think it'll be good to go. I know that, Robert, you said Talisman is a title sponsor from them, and they're really one of the best ways to stake Tau and DTau in the BitTensor ecosystem. We'll definitely have a talk about that sometime in the very near future. But excited to be in Austin. If you happen to be around there, please say hi.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be a fun time. Get some Texas barbecue. I've never been to Austin, so excited to check out the Hill Country and yeah, should be a good time.
Nice.
With that said, we are here every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube, on our Twitter. Again, please like and subscribe. But what I would love for you to do is to check out our free group, Total Value Locked, at school.com/beacon, and learn more about what we do. Please, would love that. We get people joining, dozens of people every day. Please be one of those to come in and learn from the best in the business on how to get into decentralized finance, on-chain investing, and do so safely and securely. And of course, if you want to be among the best of the best, sign up for our Beacon Mastermind. And there we go. Thanks for joining us today. We will see you next Wednesday, same time, same channel. Until then, as we say here, 07, beacons up, banks down. I like that. Thank you, sir. Have a great day, everybody.